Every single legend has a beginning. Before the world knew their names, before millions cheered them on, they were just ordinary people with extraordinary dreams.
There was one simple thing that separated them from everybody else. They absolutely refused to quit. They failed, they struggled, they faced intense criticism. There were moments when just walking away would have been the easy choice, but they kept going. And that choice is what turned them into legends. Today, we're looking at 5 people who reshaped the world through pure passion, relentless discipline, and an obsession with greatness. Our first story starts with a kid who didn't just change music, he completely rewrote the rules of entertainment.
Long before he became the king of pop, Michael Jackson was just a boy from Gary, Indiana. Growing up in 1958, his family didn't have much. Resources were tight, money was short. But there was one thing they had plenty of: music. Even as a toddler, Michael was different. While other kids were out playing in the street, Michael was singing. While they were having fun, he was locked in a room, drilling dance moves for hours on end. His father, Joe Jackson, was notoriously strict. The pressure inside that house was suffocating. Mistakes weren't just discouraged, they weren't allowed. But that brutal discipline forged something legendary. It taught a young boy that raw talent is never enough. Greatness takes endless, exhausting practice. By age 5, Michael was fronting the Jackson 5. Most kids that age are just figuring out the world. Michael was already commanding the stage, captivating massive crowds, and showing everyone he was a prodigy. His voice, his energy, his presence, it was completely unmatched. But fame was never the end goal. Michael wanted to become the greatest entertainer to ever walk the earth. When he went solo, he didn't just break records, he shattered the entire industry. Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad. They didn't just top the charts, they defined history. Thriller became the best-selling album of all time. And then he debuted a single move that stopped the world in its tracks. The moonwalk. A simple illusion became a global phenomenon. Suddenly, millions of people were trying to mimic him. He wasn't just a singer anymore. He was a global icon. But behind the bright lights was a heavy, dark reality. The same world that worshipped him also tore him apart. He lived under a microscope, facing brutal media scrutiny and intense personal struggles. Yet every single time he stepped on that stage, he gave the world his absolute best. Because for Michael, music wasn't a job, it was his life, it was his purpose. Michael Jackson's journey proves one thing: a dream becomes reality when you're willing to outwork everyone else, every single day. Some people are born with opportunities handed to them. Others, they have to build their own doors out of sheer determination. Cristiano Ronaldo is the second kind. Born in 1985 on the isolated Portuguese island of Madeira, Ronaldo's childhood was anything but luxurious. Money was hard to come by, but his ambition, it was limitless. From day one, football was his entire universe. While other kids played for fun, Ronaldo played with a chip on his shoulder. He wanted to be the absolute best, no exceptions. Just 12 years old, he made a decision that would break most kids. He packed his bags, left his family, and moved across the country to join a football academy. Think about that. A 12-year-old child, completely alone in a strange city, dealing with crippling homesickness, all for a dream. It was painful, it was lonely. But Ronaldo understood early on, sacrifice is the price of admission for success. At the academy, people doubted him. They mocked his accent. They laughed at his background. They told him he'd never make it. But Cristiano didn't waste time arguing. He answered them with action. Every single training session, every extra hour in the gym, when everyone else packed up and went home, Ronaldo stayed on the pitch because he believed a simple truth: if I work harder than you, I will beat you. But then, disaster struck. At a young age, he was diagnosed with a racing heart condition. It could have ended his career before it even started. Everything he worked for hung in the balance, but he underwent surgery, fought through the fear, and came back even stronger. From Manchester United to Real Madrid to Juventus, he conquered the football world. Multiple Ballon d'Ors, countless trophies, record after record broken. But the secret wasn't his genetics, it was his obsession with self-improvement. Even after becoming a multimillionaire superstar, he still trained with the hunger of a kid trying to earn his very first contract. Cristiano Ronaldo teaches us, talent might get you noticed, but your work ethic is what makes you unforgettable. Every legend faces a defining moment where the universe tests their resolve. Champions aren't built when things are easy. They're forged when life gives them every reason to quit and they choose to fight anyway. Our next 2 stories are about 2 warriors from totally different worlds. One fought with a bat in his hand, the other with an unbreakable spirit inside a squared circle. Before he became the undisputed king of modern cricket, Virat Kohli was just a passionate kid from Delhi, India. Born in 1988 into a middle-class family, cricket wasn't just a sport to him, it was an obsession. Every single ball he faced was an opportunity to prove he belonged. He had one singular focus: One day I will wear the Indian jersey.
In 2006, right in the middle of a critical domestic match, tragedy struck. His father passed away suddenly. For an 18-year-old kid, losing your father is enough to shatter your world. Virat had every excuse to walk away. Nobody would have blamed him if he went home to grieve. But the very next morning, with tears in his eyes and an unbearable weight in his heart, he walked right back onto that pitch. He didn't do it because it was easy. He did it because his dream was bigger than his pain. That day, the world didn't just see a great cricketer. They saw the mind of an absolute warrior. 2008, he made the national team, but success wasn't a straight line. Critics slammed his aggressive attitude. They doubted his temperament. They questioned if he could handle the pressure. Virat didn't say a word. He let his bat do the talking. Every century, every impossible run chase, every victory was his answer. He single-handedly revolutionized fitness standards in cricket, proving that elite discipline beats raw talent every day of the week. Even when he hit a massive slump later in his career and the world claimed he was finished, Virat didn't stay down. He rebuilt his game from the ground up and silenced the doubters all over again. The lesson from Virat Kohli: your circumstances don't dictate your future, your commitment does. In the world of entertainment, plenty of people play a character, but only a rare few actually become the legacy. In 1990, the WWE introduced a terrifying new figure. A massive man dressed in black, a freezing cold stare, a chilling entrance that sent shivers down the spines of thousands. They called him The Undertaker. Behind that iconic persona was a man named Mark Calloway, and what made him a legend wasn't just his size or his strength, it was his unparalleled dedication to the craft. For over 3 decades, he protected that character with his life. He rarely broke character in public, keeping the mystery alive in an era where everyone else was exposing the business. He knew that a lasting legacy isn't built on one viral moment, it's built on decades of absolute consistency. But the wrestling business is brutal. It destroys bodies. We're talking decades of intense pain, broken bones, endless surgeries, and exhausting nights on the road. Yet every single time his body screamed at him to stop, his mind forced him to push forward. He wasn't just doing it for himself. He was doing it for the millions of fans who believed in the myth. Then came the legendary WrestleMania streak, 21 consecutive victories on the grandest stage of them all, a record anchored in respect, fear, and unparalleled loyalty. Greatest impact was actually backstage. He became the undisputed leader of the locker room. He taught the younger generation respect, professionalism, and integrity. He proved that true greatness isn't just about making yourself a star, it's about pulling others up with you. When he finally left his signature hat and trench coat in the middle of the ring after 30 years, fans weren't just saying goodbye to a performer, they were watching the end of an era. The greatest basketball player to ever live wasn't defined by his rings. He was shaped by the moments he failed. Born in Brooklyn in 1963, Michael Jordan grew up with a burning love for the game. But his legendary journey didn't start with a trophy. It started with a devastating rejection. As a sophomore in high school, Michael tried out for the varsity team. When the final list went up on the wall, his name wasn't on it. They told him he was too short. They told him he wasn't good enough. For a young kid, that kind of rejection can completely break your spirit. Most people would have just accepted it and quit, but Jordan was wired differently. That rejection became premium fuel. Instead of complaining, he woke up early. He trained harder. He practiced longer. He pushed his body to its absolute limits. While his peers were relaxing, Jordan was sweating because he understood talent might open the door, but character keeps you in the room. By 1984, he entered the NBA with the Chicago Bulls, and the world quickly realized this kid was a completely different breed. The speed, the gravity-defying leaps, the lethal competitive drive, it was mesmerizing. What truly set Jordan apart was his psychotic hatred of losing. Every single defeat ate him alive. Every mistake motivated him. He didn't view failure as a dead end. He viewed it as a blueprint for his next win. The results speak for themselves. 6 NBA championships, 6 finals MVPs, a global brand that completely revolutionized sports marketing. But the path was grueling. He faced brutal injuries, suffocating fame, and the devastating murder of his father. The heartbreak drove him to walk away from basketball entirely to play baseball. The media counted him out. They whispered that Jordan had lost his edge. Then came the 2 most iconic words in sports history. I'm back. He returned to the hardwood and dominated all over again, proving that true champions don't fade away. They adapt. Jordan once famously said, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." His legacy leaves us with one powerful truth. Your biggest setback is just setting up your greatest comeback. Michael Jackson, Cristiano Ronaldo, Virat Kohli, The Undertaker, Michael Jordan. 5 completely different people, 5 different arenas, 5 unique journeys.
But underneath all the fame, they shared the exact same mindset. They weren't born as legends, they became legends through the brutal choices they made when nobody was watching. Michael Jackson showed us that pure obsession can spark a global movement. Cristiano Ronaldo proved that talent is useless without unrelenting discipline. Viral Kohli showed us how to channel agonizing pain into absolute power. The Undertaker modeled how consistency creates an immortal legacy. And Michael Jordan proved that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the engine that drives it. See, the world only watches the highlight reel, the trophies, the gold medals, the stadium applause. But the world doesn't see the dark, quiet mornings, the lonely nights, the grueling injuries, the doubts, the moments where they wanted to collapse and quit, but chose to take one more step anyway. So remember this, you don't need to be born with a silver spoon. You don't need a flawless head start. You don't even need people to believe in your vision. You just need the guts to keep moving forward when everything goes wrong. Because if you stay disciplined, if you embrace the sacrifice, and if you refuse to back down, the same people who doubt you today will be the ones telling your story tomorrow. Dream big, work hard, and never stop fighting for the person you are destined to become.